This history begins where slavery ended. It starts with the tremendous progress of blacks during the decade following the Civil War. Blacks had statewide voting majorities in Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, Florida, and South Carolina. And throughout the South, they maintained the balance of aggregate political power as Republicans. P.B.S. Pinchback became governor of Louisiana, and Blanche K. Bruce, one of two blacks who served as U.S. senators from Mississippi, considered by many to be the most liberal state in the Union. The House of Representatives in South Carolina became the first official body in Western civilization with a black majority. Black-dominated Southern legislatures created racially integrated and free public school systems and enacted social legislation beneficial to poor whites and white women, as well as the freed men and women. Under black representative leadership, the South was rising again.
We were 8 years in power. We had built schoolhouses, established creditable institutions, built and maintained the penitentiary system, built and rebuilt the jails, courthouses, and the bridges. In short, we had reconstructed the states and placed them on the road to prosperity.
But this brief 10-year experiment in democracy, now called Black Reconstruction, was considered un-American by the former slaveholders and white supremacists who believed that honest work was beneath a white man, and they were determined to exploit the freedmen. They believed that blacks had been created solely for the use of whites. They wanted slavery back, along with its free black labor. But first, the black Republicans had to be driven from office and away from the ballot box. Southern Democrats and the Ku Klux Klan organized a war of terror with the explicit purpose of defying the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments to the Constitution and overthrowing legitimate state governments.
Organize! 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 We must render this a white man's government or convert the land into a black man's cemetery. We shall carry this next election if we have to ride saddle deep in blood to do it.
Black elected officials were driven from office or assassinated. By 1880, 130,000 black and white Republicans who voted against legal reenslavement, Union men, and loyal Southern whites were murdered by terrorist organizations.
We've done our level best. We've scratched our heads to try to figure how we could eliminate the last one of them. We've stuffed the ballot boxes. We've shot them. We are not ashamed.
Undergirding this violence was the unanimous belief of Southern whites, shared by many whites in the North and West as well, that blacks were inherently inferior to whites and were from barbaric societies in Africa. They could only fit in a Western civilized culture if disciplined through slavery. Therefore, blacks had no rights that a white was bound to respect. Neither to take land from a black was considered criminal, nor to kill a black was considered murder. Southern states began to adopt black codes, laws that legally re-enslaved blacks. They could not own land, bear arms, and could be sentenced to perform free labor for individual whites for such crimes as not saying "Mr." to a white man. Blacks were needlessly humiliated. In one state, blacks and whites were not allowed to play checkers together. Another law made it a crime for black workers to look out the same windows as whites. There were separate Bibles for swearing in black and white witnesses in court. Of course, all public facilities were segregated, including cemeteries. This new slavery was achieved by a reign of terror. It successfully deprived blacks of their 15th Amendment guarantee to vote.
Every Democrat must feel honor bound to control the vote of at least one Negro by intimidation, by purchase, by keeping him away, or by whatever means he may find necessary.
During this period, the best friend that blacks had was the Republican Party. led by two radical Republican congressmen, Representative Thaddeus Stevens of Pennsylvania, who advocated 40 acres and a mule for the freedmen, and Senator Charles Sumner of Massachusetts. Another historic footnote. Although Abraham Lincoln is credited with the Emancipation Proclamation and the freeing of the slaves in 1863, his motives were purely political. He showed little interest in helping blacks and was definitely not an advocate of human freedom, as were Stevens and Sumner. Lincoln even considered the voluntary deportation of blacks. The Supreme Court also believed in separate but equal, and upheld that policy in the Plessy versus Ferguson ruling of 1896. Racism was the law of the land.